Sunday Morning Matters on KC24, your local election headquarters.
Well, this Tuesday will mark 3 months until the critical November election, appropriately dubbed the Moolah midterm. This week, new reports indicating this midterm will generate a record amount of money in political ad spending. So far this year, $3.6 billion has been spent on political ads nationwide. That's on pace to break 2018's midterm election, and it won't even be close. It comes as a new Republican super PAC releases a new attack ad mocking Governor Newsom's attack ad in Florida and in Texas. So I'm sure in about a month we're going to have it our fill, if you will, of the political attack ads. But hey, it's good for broadcast industry, especially on political shows like this one. Let's welcome back our panel, Amanda Renteria and Thomas Del Picaro. So here we go, guys. The battle for the House and the Senate on the line in the midterms. Now granted, 34 of the 100 seats in the U.S. Senate will be on the ballot. But the money being spent, what does this tell us? Thomas, we'll start with you.
Well, as you know, I wrote a book called The Divided Era over my shoulder there. And look, the higher the stakes, the more political spending. And so what are the stakes in politics? The budget. Our governments are spending well over $10 trillion. So the fight to control those governments is going to be hotter and more expensive than when our government spent just $2 trillion. After this November, I think the next 2 years we'll spend over $20 billion electing the next Congress, 33 more senators and a president. So as long as you see the federal budget and state budgets rising, you could expect more money being spent to fight for those offices.
Well, Amanda, I guess the obvious question, does it work?
It depends. I mean, I think the reason I might disagree a little bit with Thomas here, which is I think you just have a very engaged public right now. Talking about what these elections are happening. And it's not just about the changes at the federal level and Congress, but it's also at state legislatures all across the country. And that's what you're beginning to see is people are now beginning to understand, especially with January 6th, beginning to understand that it matters who's elected not only in our nation's capital, but all throughout the country. And particularly as we talk about what rights are making it through state legislatures right now. So the conversation is extremely hot. And you are beginning to see a lot more money flowing into this midterm more than we've ever seen before. That's not too surprising to me, given that we're all talking about this at our kitchen tables these days.
You know, I'm wondering come November, as you heard Dr. Pembera talk about the stark outlook, and he says we're in a recession as it is, telling consumers don't spend what you don't have to. I'm wondering, come November, are voters going to vote with their pocketbook or they're going to vote by party? Amanda, back to you.
So I think all of it is going to matter. So when everyone talks about, is there one issue? Is there one thing? I think you have a lot of people who are juggling, whether it's being able to tend to their family, have family care, child care, go down the street to get gas. I think there's a lot of things that are stirring around. I do think the moving in the middle are still independents. I think Democrats and Republicans are pretty far in their category, but you do have a moving independent world that is shifting one way or the other. And that's usually what happens in midterms is those are the folks that every campaign is going after in order to take things over that edge and win that election cycle.
And Thomas, back to you on that. And I'm going to add something here. Earlier in the show, the Congressman, David Valadao, admitting, he's watching the January 6th hearing. I think he's one of the Republicans that is admitting that. Not too many are. Could that hurt him in his race against Rudy Salas?
Well, let's talk about inflation first. There was as many years as I've been studying history, I've never seen a poll like the recent CBS poll that had 95% of voters concerned or saying their vote will turn at least in part on inflation, and 79% said very much so. Well, nobody's turning their vote on inflation because they're happy with it. That's an astonishing poll to hit 95%. So yes, I think the economy will be top of mind this election. And I've written 2 national articles on inflation in the last couple of weeks that tells you why inflation is here for at least another year. And keep in mind, as soon as the Fed said this was transitory last August, I had an article out saying it wasn't going to be transitory, and one of us has been right. As far as Valadao, look, I think he's in a tough district. We know that. He's the second most Democrat favored district for a sitting Republican. And I think he's wise to take in all the information and see what's out there. So I think he's being smart in that regard. But I think whether he wins or not is going to be driven on things like inflation.
We are short on time as always, but I'm going to squeeze this in anyway. San Clemente, a Southern California city in Orange County, set on their city council to vote for an abortion ban. They're going to call it a sanctuary for life city. Could this lead to other cities in California adopting such a ban, or does it break a state law? Amanda, go.
So I just think if you're going to wade into this issue, you really have to see what just happened in Kansas, where conservative women and families actually came out and thought it was an extreme measure to change your constitution to not support women having access to all health care. So I think everyone's going to take a pretty good look at that, even in cities across California.
Thomas, I think you dab in the law a little bit. Does this break a state law?
Well, eventually there's going to be new laws coming out of the state of California that will be very much in favor of Amanda's position and many others. And those will supersede the city council. I think this is just a vote of conscience, but it actually doesn't rise to the level of enforceable law.
All right, Amanda Renteria, Thomas Del Beccaro, a wealth of knowledge from you two. Appreciate it so much that you're back on. Take care.
All right. Take care.